Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, if you hadn't heard of South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, that probably changed this week. Mayor Pete, as he likes to be called, made a two-day swing through Iowa to kick off his presidential campaign and spent his spare moments making appearances on national TV. As Barbara Brosier reports, it's part of a whirlwind week that started with his official campaign announcement.
Much of Buttigieg's speech focused on how once industrial Midwestern cities like South Bend are models for innovation at the national level. And he says his track record as mayor is the perfect primer for president. The same year Pete Buttigieg won his first term as South Bend mayor, Newsweek included the community on a list of dying cities. What is particularly troubling for this small city is that the number of young people declined by 2.5% during the previous decade, casting further doubt on whether this city will ever be able to recover, the article said. Buttigieg used that as a rallying cry.
I ran for mayor in 2011 knowing that nothing like Studebaker would ever come back, but believing that we would, our city would, if we had the courage to reimagine our future.
The former Studebaker plant, where Buttigieg announced his run for president, is now being repurposed as a tech hub. And it's that kind of innovation, Buttigieg says, he would bring to the White House.
And a moment like that calls for hopeful and audacious voices from communities like ours. And yes, it calls for a new generation of leadership in this country.
Buttigieg has pointed to his successes as mayor as qualification enough for the nation's highest office, even though no one in history has ever made such a leap. He boasts about the more than $100 million in economic development downtown seen since South Bend's Smart Streets initiative, which most notably converted one-way streets to two-way. And he talks about reversing the trend of people leaving South Bend. U.S. Census data shows an estimated population increase of 1% from 2010 to 2017.
More people are moving into South Bend than we've seen in a generation. Thousands of new jobs have been added in our area, billions in investment.
But even some of Buttigieg's supporters acknowledge much of that investment went to downtown.
Well, I feel like he should try to focus more on the neighborhoods.
The city did spend money on the west side as part of Buttigieg's plan to address 1,000 vacant properties in 1,000 days. The city repaired some homes, but tore most of them down, leaving several empty lots on some blocks. And other critics, including Indiana's Republican Party, are quick to point out Buttigieg doesn't deserve sole credit for the city's successes. In a press release sent out ahead of the event, the GOP points out the state gave $3.5 million through its Regional Cities initiative to help restore the shuttered Studebaker building.
Looking at his record more carefully points out that Studebaker wasn't just him. In fact, a lot of people could argue it's not him, it's several other entities. They can make an argument about the Chase building downtown. That was not him. It's a bunch of people.
Downs says how Buttigieg reacts to those criticisms as his national profile increases will be key to his campaign's success heading into 2020. And he says another weak point opponents will likely latch onto is his lack of experience dealing with more complex issues like international affairs. But the lack of traditional experience some will fault Buttigieg for is also what appeals to many of his fans.
I think the actual on-the-ground experience he's had here in South Bend being mayor and doing the day-to-day, the bottom-up experience is pretty valuable, and you could stack it against any other kind of experience that a lot of the other candidates may have.
When you look at Pete Buttigieg, I mean, it's like you think back to John Kennedy or Barack Obama. I mean, he's that kind of person that I think can really pull people together.
The big question is whether Buttigieg will be able to keep this momentum going felt this week in South Bend into 2020. Reporting in South Bend for Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brosier.
In the hours following Buttigieg's announcement, his campaign reported another $1 million in donations.